Welcome, family, to our monthly virtual conference. I'm your host, Emmanuel Barbee. I'm glad to have everyone tuning in. I need you all to do me a favor. First, hit that like button, then hit that subscribe button, and share this video podcast on Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and any other social media that you are on. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This video podcast is available in three forms: audio, video, and as a written text in order for us to reach our audience. I encourage all of my listeners to please follow me on my Medium page so that you can have access to this transcript and all of my sources. To find my Medium page, just go to my YouTube page, and next to my photo on the far right side, it says more links. Click on it and scroll down until you find my Medium page. Then click on it and look for the exact title of this presentation. Those of you who are serious about doing business with me, then send me your email address to my Facebook inbox, and I will email you everything that I do online. We host our virtual conference every last Saturday of the month until we are able to raise funds for our film project, which is Hood Liberator Made in Chicago, The War Against Willie Lynch Begins. This is a solution-based docudrama based on my experience growing up in the inner cities of Chicago. It's also based on my revised book, and also the reason why I created the grassroots community activist movement. This is our Black Panther moment, except it's not owned by Disney, it's owned by GRCAM members. Join our crowdfunding on our GoFundMe page or on our PayPal page for this historic film project. The donations will help us with our marketing campaign, production, and legal expenses to make this docudrama. We're using crowdfunding so that everyone knows exactly where the money is going. We're asking that you donate what you can. Our aim is to raise $250,000 to start with. If you are a U.S. citizen, then you can donate through our PayPal giving fund. You can use this as a tax write-off because this is a legitimate 501c3 nonprofit, faith-based, and community advocacy organization. Let's keep it a buck. For 32 years, Black America, specifically Black Chicagoans, have rejected and ignored my vision and plan. Case in point, out of 1,999 people that's on my Facebook friends list and in my social groups, only one person have donated towards our film project on our PayPal page, and that is Minister Shalita Sunday. Shout out to that sister. And the reason I'm telling you all this is because that's Willie Lynch in real time. So go on my Facebook page and look at the number of people that's on my friends list, and then go to our PayPal page and see exactly how many people have donated. Anyone that's on my Facebook friends list that's not interested in our cause, which is help stop the genocide in American ghettos, then please delete me from your friends list and don't come to no events with my name on it, and that's real. This is why I'm reaching out to African immigrants within the United States of America from 10 African nations to help speed up the process for us to get this film project fully funded and made and get it popping here in the city of Chicago, so that way we can expand the business to the African continent. Those African nations are as follows: South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, Angola, Liberia, Ivory Coast, Ghana, and Nigeria. At this point, all I have is my revised book, my virtual store, my online groups, and this platform. My film project is my last attempt to try to do something positive for my racial group, Black Americans, before I cut and run to Africa, because that's going to be my credibility, this business. When I come to Africa, I don't want to waste time trying to explain who Emmanuel Barbee is. My business will speak for itself. All I'm asking is that African immigrants in America, do me a favor, please purchase my revised book, The Solution for Black America, Reclaiming, Rebuilding, and Restoring the Urban Ghettos in America, 2nd edition. You can find that on my Amazon page, and you can find all the links to my revised book, my virtual store, our PayPal page, and our GoFundMe page in the comment section below this video podcast. So please read my story. And if you agree with my vision and plan to help improve Black America, then make arrangements with me to come on this platform and let's talk about it so that we can encourage others to join our cause. That's going to help speed up the process. Also, donate what you can towards our film project. The purpose of me doing all of these video podcasts is to gather like-minded Black Americans, like-minded African immigrants in America to work with me and turning my vision and plan into a reality. So that way we can build the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago for our Black youth and their families. And this will also give me credibility to the Black world. So that way they'll know who we are. And while we're making an impact in the African American community, as well as in the African immigrant community, we will bring the best of the diaspora to each African nation so that we can set up local chapters and do international trade among our members. We will reconnect Black entrepreneurs with African entrepreneurs, Black artists with African artists. In this Christian business, our objective is to heal from enslavement and colonization. GRCAM will take the lead in solving Black issues within the United States of America. And then we're going to expand to Africa, the Caribbean, and Brazil. Lord knows I would like to do more than just news and social commentaries. But at this point, all I'm working with is on a shoestring budget. All of my funds go towards rent, food, and bills. Without financial support from the Black grassroots and the global African family, then I am unable to do my God-given assignment. And that is to build the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. This is a Nehemiah assignment. Again, I do not operate like the next Black man. I have my own style and way of doing things. You don't have to like me, but you will respect me. The sooner we get this film project fully funded and made, the sooner we can build the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. Once the proceeds from the film starts pouring in, then I will be in a better position financially to purchase property in Chicago, buy office equipment, and hire qualified Black middle-class professionals and African immigrants in Chicago and beyond. Black Americans and African immigrants will build GRCAM of Chicago together. I encourage all of my international friends in my African group, GRCAM of Africa, even if you are unable to participate in this event, please watch the replay. Leave a public comment about the topic on my YouTube page and share it with your friends on all social media sites that you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. I encourage all of my Christian friends in my Christian group, Light of the World Inspirational Group, and Christian Spoken Word Network. Even if you are unable to participate in this event, please watch the replay. Leave a public comment about it on my YouTube page and share it with all your friends on all social media sites that you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. I encourage all of my supporters in my secular groups, GRCAM of Chicago, New Black Voices of Media, etc. Even if you are unable to participate in this event, please watch the replay. Leave a public comment about the topic on my YouTube page and share with all your friends on all social media sites that you are on. This will help get the ball rolling. The title of this presentation, GRCAM Virtual Conference, Saturday, June 29th, 2024. Theme, Demanding Reparations Now for Descendants of American Slaves and an Anti-Black Hate Crime Bill. Before I begin this presentation, I need to express my disappointment with the South African election results. First, the ANC had been in office for 30 years, which is part of the Nelson Mandela's party. I hear they were full of corruption. I thought that South Africans would elect Julius Malema as their new president, since he was fighting for land distribution without compensation. The ANC won, yet again, but they lost many seats, so now they have to form a coalition government. The second political party that won was the D.A.S, known as the Democratic Alliance, which is a white minority political party that created apartheid in South Africa. They also only make up 20% of the population, yet they control 80% of the land. The third political party is known as MK, led by the former president of South Africa. He was kicked out of office due to corruption. Julius Malema, the EFF, known as the Economic Freedom Fighters political party, came in fourth place. We hope that the ANC would embrace MK and the EFF, because if we lose Africa, we lose everything. South Africans view Nigerians, Ghanaians, and other Africans as their competition. A few Black Americans who have visited the African continent told me when they visit South Africa and other African nations, they notice a majority of the businesses are owned by Arabs, Asians, East Indians, and Europeans. As soon as we're able to get GRCAM Chicago established in America, then we can expand to Africa. I would like to hear from Black South Africans who live here in the United States of America. I want you to first leave a comment in the comment section below this video podcast. Also make arrangements with me to come on this platform so we can talk about this. Because again, I feel led about coming to South Africa to apply for dual citizenship, to shoot my second film, and to set up the business there. Because I feel like since you all were under apartheid, you can relate with me or other Black Americans, because we went through Jim Crow, which is the same thing, it's just a different name. But now we're only 12% of the population here in America. And we changed this thing back in the 60s. Our grandparents fought and, helped even change the laws to help get African immigrants to come here in the United States. So, you know, I'm willing to bring the best of the diaspora to South Africa, but I need especially South Africans that's here in America to first read my story. If you agree, then connect with me and we'll talk about it and help get this film project popping. Very important. So that way I can be in a better position financially to do all this stuff I keep talking about. I've been trying to wake up Black America for the past 32 years, but Black America / Black Chicago has ignored my vision and plan. And that was during the era of warnings. Now we are in the era of consequences. I found a TikTok video of a Latino ally who was warning Black Americans in Chicago not to vote for Biden. To watch the full video, just go to my Medium page and select the exact title of this presentation. Click on it and scroll down to show and prove. We're having issues with Mayor Brandon Johnson, who is giving away our resources to these illegal migrants who cross the border illegally. The main point out of what this gentleman was talking about is that he is saying that the lighter skinned Latinos are given priority over Afro Latinos, and that's done by design. Remember what the Biden administration did to the Haitians that also crossed the border. He sent them back. They are allowing millions of illegal migrants to come here to compete for resources against Black Americans and our children. I have warned Black Chicagoans for 32 years about this. I even wrote about it in my revised book, which has been on Amazon for 12 years, and still the book is barely selling. Now my predictions are coming to pass. What I said in my book is that the Latino community will fight like hell to help their people who cross the borders illegally to become American citizens. Every racial group in America is on code with one another except Black Americans. Why? Because of this slave mentality, which is the Willie Lynch mentality within our culture. This is why I wrote my book, in order to reach other like-minded Black Americans and like-minded African immigrants within the United States of America to join my virtual Christian socialist organization, the Grassroots Community Activist Movement. All of the principles in my revised book is the code for GRCAM members. We will talk about reparations then. These career politicians who are Democrat first will deflect from the conversation. I love Chicago and I love my people. That's why I have not relocated, because even if I did, in every inner city in America, you will find the same issues: poverty, failing schools, drugs, guns, gangs, inadequate housing, and inadequate health care. Once we get this film project fully funded and made and the proceeds from the film starts coming in, then I will be in a better position financially to do all the things which I have written about and that I have been talking about for the past 32 years. The purpose of me connecting with like-minded Black Americans and like-minded African immigrants is for us to build the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. We will provide a safe, interactive space for Black children and their families who reside in the low-income African American community starting on the west side of Chicago. We aim to strengthen the Black family by providing quality programs, services, and resources to Black families who become members of GRCAM. We will also serve the African immigrant community within Chicago. Not everyone will be able to just up. Let me just rephrase that. Not all Black Americans will be able to up and leave the United States of America due to economics. The Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago will, will be created for us to heal from enslavement and colonization. We will learn how to work together and get along with one another. I want to get this Christian business popping in America first for credibility before we expand to 10 African nations. That's what I want to be remembered for, trying to do something positive to help strengthen the Black families and African immigrants while making an impact in the community we will serve. We are in this predicament because the U.S. government and corporations for centuries caused this problem, and now it's time for them to pay economically for their actions. A minimum of $10 trillion. Our people deserve it. Our country is being invaded by illegal immigrants who are getting millions of dollars, free housing, free food, free health care, free education. That's our reparations. We have no one in office advocating for Black Americans. The only reason America wants to keep us here is because as a collective, we hold $1 trillion. That's a lot of money going back into the economy. And it only stay in the African American community for about 6 hours because Black Americans patronize everybody else's businesses while abandoning Black businesses. Then you wonder why we have a shortage of Black businesses in the African American community. This is why all these other groups call us the N-word. This is all of us working together as a collective, doing what we can to get this film project popping, as well as continue to push for our reparations. We often outsource jobs from Black hands into the hands of others. We're being overcharged for goods and services which other people are benefiting from, whereas we're being exploited. These are jobs that we can do ourselves, like educating our children. Black Americans believe that other people are better at educating our own children than we are. That's a shame. In fact, our own ancestors who came out of slavery educated our children and did a better job than the Chicago public school system. Once we build GRCAM Chicago, then we will have a tax base within the African American community and in the African immigrant community, which will create a very comfortable existence for both communities. Black economic empowerment allows us to rise up and elevate ourselves so that we can see ourselves from the past to the future. I believe mainstream media and white institutions are designed to whitewash our Afrocentric perspective because Americanized Black people are easy to become enslaved by propaganda. I hope that this conversation will be beneficial to you and your family. We encourage Black parents to teach their children how to start a business by the age of 13 in case they are unable to find a job. Once I become a millionaire, then I'm going to create financial incentives for active GRCAM members. Black politicians in America are corrupt because they are in the pockets of the white supremacist financial elites. This is why the Congressional Black Caucus does not do anything for Black Americans. I encourage all of my listeners to go to my Medium page and select the exact title of this presentation, then scroll down to show and prove. I found a video about Congressman James Clyburn. Um, he he has been in office since 1992. If you want to know who controls our politicians, then look no further than follow the money. All of our politicians are controlled by corporations and APAC. Clyburn made $1.8 million. That's his reparations. These black politicians become corrupt due to lobbyists and corporate greed. When we say cut the check, he started laughing. It's no laughing matter. Our lifeline in America is at stake. Um, Again, I watched a video about Clyburn reaction during his fish fry. He was asked about reparations, and he started cussing the person out and things like that. That wasn't cool. No other representative does that to their people that's in their district. That's not cool at all. Very unprofessional. We know that these people are coming to them with agendas, and they are doing the agendas of the people that's paying them. To me, that's election interference. My question to like-minded Black Americans: are all of you registered to vote? If you're not at least registered to vote, that's a start. Do you have a United States passport? If you're not going to do something different, you're going to always keep repeating the same thing over and over, and expect something a different outcome. And they call that insanity. We have to support Black grassroots. This is what this organization is. We're not getting any corporate funding. They're not going to help us because we're trying to help solve a lot of social issues in the Black community. It benefits people outside of the Black community. That's because people that's, let's say, criminals and things like that, having them locked up, judges, that's jobs for judges, police officers, lawyers, Black Chicago should have learned from Lori Lightfoot, but they elected another Democrat, Brandon Johnson, and he's doing the same thing but worse. I keep trying to explain to Black Chicagoans we can't keep voting for the Democrats. Demand economic tangibles, otherwise withhold your votes. When James Clyburn, a top Democrat, told us, quote, hell no, you ain't gonna get reparation. Notice he will not say hell no to illegal immigrants. He's not going to say that to Ukrainians. He's not going to say that to Israel. It's our vote that helps paper up all these other groups, and yet we still sit up here with an empty plate. That's why they call us the N-word. Systematic racism in America have held our people back from achieving our full potential. It's ridiculous that the slave owners were compensated after the Civil War, but our ancestors who built the United States of America was not given a dime. Japanese Americans and Native American Indians received compensation for their grievance. The Obama administration gave American Jews $12 million to Holocaust survivors. which is an insult to Black Americans because their situation did not happen here in America. It happened in Germany. Secondly, he rejected reparations for descendants of American slaves that built this country. That made me lose respect for that man. All of these other groups receive compensation except us. We demand lineage-based cash payment reparations for descendants of American slaves, as well as an anti-Black hate crime bill from these politicians if they want our vote. On this platform, we're trying to educate our listeners while at the same time hold our elected politicians accountable. While we're stumping hard for reparations, I encourage all of my listeners worldwide to help me get my revised book on that bestsellers list and donate what you can to our film project. Quote, Hood Liberator Made in Chicago, The War Against Willie Lynch Begins, either on our GoFundMe page or on our PayPal page. If you are a U.S. citizen, then you can use our PayPal page as a tax write-off because this is a legitimate 501c3 nonprofit faith-based and community advocacy organization, which I am the founder and president of the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago. You can find all of the links in the comment section below this video podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We have a lot of work to do, but with God's help, we can get it done because this is a righteous cause, and also because God is on our side. 32 years of being overlooked and rejected by Black Chicagoans have not fazed me, and that's why I created this platform to get my message out loud and clear to reach other like-minded Black Americans and like-minded African immigrants within the United States of America. I want them to first read my story, and if they agree with my vision and plan to help improve Black America, then I would like for them to donate what they can to help with our film project, as well as for them to make arrangements to come on this platform and for us to talk about this on camera and encourage others to join our cause. Black America need help. Our so-called leaders have sold us out. I do not like what I'm seeing in Black America, and I plan to do something about it through my Christian business, GRCAM Chicago. But I lack two things, the manpower and the capital. That's why I wrote my book in the first place, to generate capital. That's why I created my virtual store, to generate capital. But let's keep it a buck. The white man is not stopping Black Americans from buying my book, buying items from my virtual store, or donating to our film project. That's a personal choice. All I can do is keep talking about this and pray to the Lord that He would give my listeners the heart of flesh. We have to take responsibility for this. I have little to no support for my cause, yet I am blessed today to have access to a global audience worldwide. Thank you, Jesus /Yahshua for social media. The white supremacist financial elites and their Black collaborators are standing in the way of our reparations. That's why we have to separate ourselves from these con artists, Black boule, degenerates, Democrat shields, hardened criminals, pedophiles, off-code Negroes, and urban terrorists. We have been targeted since the 1600s. They've got books like the Turner Diaries talking about how they plan on mass murdering us in America. Our police department across the country is infiltrated by white nationalists who is trying to start a race war. We lost the sense of
It takes a village to raise a child. We need to get back to that. The Biden administration is flooding the zone with illegal immigrants coming here and setting up um, in the African American community to compete against us as it pertains to resources. The only thing that is going to stop them is for Black Americans to stop voting for Democrats. Family, we have to gatekeep our culture and our music. We're not taking care of ourselves like we did back in the day. We don't love each other like we did back in the day. Pan Africanism is great, great idea, but they left God out of it. I am here to promote GRCAM. We will take the lead in solving Black issues within the United States of America, as well as expand our Christian business to Africa, the Caribbean, Brazil. So help me God. I remember reading a book by Chancellor Williams entitled, quote, The Destruction of Black Civilization, unquote. He explained how Europeans have been working hard to destroy Black life, 500 years of nonstop attacks. The Bible says Satan comes but to steal and kill and destroy. Ever since Europeans landed on African soil, the white supremacist financial elites have caused all kinds of havoc on the continent, everywhere in the world. Black people, African people are at the bottom of the totem pole. If you become a GRCAM member, then we can change that narrative. I am called to raise the bar in Black America and in Africa for GRCAM members. But GRCAM members have to want this to happen. After the Arab slave trade, then the Atlantic slave trade, then came colonization. Those who were doing the exploitation and oppression had an advantage to have to always put that in context. China is invested heavily in Africa as well as European nations. When you look at Africa on the global scale, you realize that Europe and the United States of America have made Africa dependent on them for foreign aid and loans to prevent Africa from developing into a first world continent. Western nations need Africa's natural resources in order for them to continue being a first world nation. The agenda is to keep Africa in a situation it's currently in. This is why it's important for African immigrants in America to work with me in building GRCAM Chicago, which will benefit both the African American community and the African immigrant community before we expand the business to Africa. 7 European nations were involved in colonizing Africa. They are as follows: Belgium, France, Germany, Italy, Portugal, Spain, and the United Kingdom. China and Europe are currently benefiting because they own most of the real estate and construction companies in Africa. Once we build GRCAM Chicago, then we can expand to Africa. I want to be in a better position financially so that I can invest in South Africa because I can assimilate easier in the African nation and benefit from the fruits of my labor. If you want to avoid the pitfalls of making emotional business investment based on false belief, then follow me because I am trying to make wise business moves based on making money from my for-profit business once I'm able to get my non-profit business popping. If Black America had our own country, then it would be one of the top 10 nations on the planet because we know how to get things done. That's why I want us to build GRCAM Chicago in America first so that we can expand the business. I want it to become a global. I want us to become global citizens in a global economy. African nations will benefit from GRCAM because we will provide jobs for the locals who are African artists and African entrepreneurs who are involved with the textile industry because fashion is a big money maker. Um, for example, dress shirts and shoes for boys and girls and men and women. We will start with hospitality and tourism. The so-called premium blacks in America are dependent on white corporations and white institutions. I'm very serious about these conversations and about the work I'm trying to do. I am concerned about our future in the United States. We need to work with African immigrants in America so that we can build Chicago for the sake of the next generation. It doesn't mean we all have to relocate to Africa, but by creating the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago, it will give us options to do business beyond America, like in Africa, the Caribbean, and Brazil. The question that comes up is how can you use Africa as leverage for business in the fashion industry? You can't because you have to go through China or Holland. When Black Americans come to Africa to make business deals, we will have to compete with the Chinese, Europeans, because Africa has been in the pockets of neo-colonizers because African leaders have rejoined the Commonwealth. We will educate our brothers and sisters about the history of what the U.S. government has done in Africa by destabilizing certain African nations and choosing certain politicians to be in power so that they can allow mega corporations to have access to raw materials so that they can become prosperous while African children and their families suffer. The International Monetary Fund, MIF, is in place to devalue African nations' currency so that the United States can trap Africa in order for shady trade deals or predatory loans in exchange for natural resources and commodities for cheap prices. This is called geopolitics. They have the upper hand because they have been doing this for centuries. All these African countries gained their so-called independence and not freedom. There's a difference between independence and freedom. We're not free in Africa. This is why I am doing my best to get my film project fully funded and made. We're still trying to recover and trying to reclaim our natural resources and build our countries, but the West continues to install puppet leaders. The CIA doesn't come out like the military. They do things behind the scenes. Notice that our voting rights has to be ratified every 25 years. No other group has to go through this in America. Malcolm X said the white man will try to satisfy us with symbolic victories rather than economic equity and real justice. Remember, Biden only gave us symbolic gestures by making Juneteenth a federal holiday. We've been celebrating Juneteenth for decades without it being a federal holiday. The Biden administration gave us a monument of Emmett Till, and they put Ketanji Brown Jackson, a first black woman to serve on U.S. Supreme Court. Yet another symbolic gesture. Black Americans want economic tangibles just like everybody else. Family, while we continue to push for reparations, we also need to build Chicago so that we don't remain under the dominant society control, but for us to be liberated, independent, and self-determined group of people, self-governed is our goal. I can't call myself hood liberator if I'm not fighting for my people who are trapped in American ghettos. Again, not all Black Americans can just up and leave America due to economics. That's why I'm trying to generate capital so that I can hire qualified Black middle class professionals within the United States and hire African immigrants within the United States of America to help turn my vision and plan into a reality. For credibility, before I couldn't run to Africa, I want to make the Black world know our story. Those who will, those who want to live under the dominant society, they use words like inclusion and diversity. I'm called to build the best Black business within the United States of America. I am a descendant of American slaves, and I'm also identify myself as a Maroon. My focus is on liberation for Black Americans, liberation for Africans, liberation for Afro-Caribbeans, and liberation for Afro-Brazilians, Afro-Latinos. Sovereign and self-determination. We salute FBA, Foundational Black Americans, and Freemen. People look at what's happening in California. You have all these Latinos talking down on Black people while their parents came here illegally. If you think we're facing a lot of anti-Black sentiment now, you have no idea what's about to happen. Like I said, it's going to get worse for Black Americans, especially for our children, because they have to fight, for the little resources that's going to be left, because they got to compete against all these foreigners that's coming over here. We're standing with the sisters in Tulsa who received no justice for the Tulsa race massacre. That was a horrible injustice that happened. And over here, we're going to stand up for them because the white supremacist financial elites use the excuse that the people who were victims are no longer alive. America has created and committed war crimes and paid the people they committed war crimes against during World War II, when when Japan bombed Hawaii. America retaliated by dropping a nuclear bomb on Japan, killing thousands. America created a Marshall Plan to compensate Japan. They compensated the Vietnamese and the Iran hostages in 1979. The American government compensated the victims of 9/11, but when it comes to us, everybody wants to act dumb. If we get reparations, that's going to help stimulate the American economy. We're not foreigners, so we're not sending money out of the United States. Once we get our reparations, then we can start our own businesses. They know that what we can do. Our ancestors built the White House. Europe was a slum before the Western slave trade, and the money built from slavery over the over the centuries helped fund European nations. We couldn't get out of slavery because of the U.S. government. For example, the so-called founding fathers, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, John Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Alexandria Hamilton, John Jay, and James Madison all owned slaves, and this is what makes the United States of America liable for reparations. reparations. American slavery was the most profitable business of all times. Thomas Jefferson knew. All right, I'm having some technical difficulties here. Just bear with me. Bear with me. Again, yes, I read my speeches without shame because I want to make sure people hear me loud and clear. All right. Come on, thing. Let's get this popping. Okay. Bear with me. Sorry about that. I had some technical difficulties, but I'm right back. Reparation is our last battle in America for us, for such a time as this. White America is asking, why should we pay reparation for after 400 years? Because you are living off of generational wealth, which is from slave money, which is a blood debt owed to descendants of American slaves. Our time is now. We stand on the shoulders of our ancestors who still carry the weight of systematic injustice. We demand reparations not as a handout, but as a blood debt. Our birthright is not here in America. Our birthright is in Africa. If I am unable to get African immigrants in America to work with me, then I am unable to expand my Christian business to Africa. For example, right now, South Africa has a 44% unemployment rate. So only South Africans that are in America would come forth and help us get this film project fully funded and popping. Then we can begin expanding GRCAM Chicago to South Africa for credibility, because it was started here in America first and they helped me build it up here. Truth be told, many Black Americans, including myself, don't have an inheritance. Many Black Americans don't have life insurance. When you pass away, and if you have children, then you are leaving your children with a burden to raise funds for your burial expenses. This is why it's important for GRCAM members to build this Christian business so that we can pass it down to the next generation. We had a stronger family bond back in the day or during Jim Crow. But as I explained in my last podcast, after the civil rights era, the white supremacist financial elites decided to target the Black family by dividing Black people based on social class, so they allowed the Black middle class professionals and upper class Blacks to integrate into the suburbs and white communities. Then they flooded the Black ghettos with drugs, guns, and liquor stores as a way for poor Blacks to end up harming each other. We live in the information age. Do the research of the murder rate of children living in the inner cities compared to children living in affluent white neighborhoods. I don't have any children because this world does not deserve my seed, but that's another story. Like-minded Black Americans have to break the cycle of excuses, the cycle of just voting for one political party, the Democrats, while expecting a new outcome. It is not easy to start and grow a new business, but it's worth it. And that's what I'm trying to do. I've been paying out of pocket for this business title since 2010. I believe this film project will help me reach the Black masses and the Black world. We need businesses that reflect our culture and our values. That's what I'm trying to do. The only thing that that the dominant society understand is loss of revenue. We have to hit the white supremacist financial elites where it hurts them the most in their pockets. Black Americans have been marching and protesting, begging the white supremacist financial elites for freedom, justice, and equality. You will never get freedom, justice, and equality from descendants of slave owners because that defeats the purpose of white supremacy. As long as we remain in America, then we will continue to pay for our own oppression through our black dollars or taxes. Cacao Chicago will help give black parents options where they would like to raise their children, either in an African nation or in a Caribbean nation, because we're going to own property in those nations and we're going to control our own business. We want to give our members an opportunity to have dual citizenship in each African nation that we set up our chapters. Again, the reason why we need to build Cacao Chicago is for Black Americans who are unable to leave due to economics. The battle has been happening for over 4 centuries. Now it's time for us to get our just due in the form of cash payment reparations for descendants of American slaves. We're from the grassroots and standing on the shoulders of our ancestors who fought and died to get off those plantations. Cacao Chicago will help turn around our inner cities by becoming a tax base for both the African American community and the African immigrant community. When we say reparations, we mean making an amends for wrong through financial compensation. Land is also part of reparations. The white supremacist financial elites has historically um, tried to prevent us from accessing wealth and providing for our families. Since the civil rights era, Black Americans haven't made much progress. It's my hope that the Grassroots Community Activist Institute of Chicago would take the lead in building infrastructure within the African American community. Black millennials and Generation Z, um, I need you all to run for public office. We need Black grassroots candidates and everybody to get behind them because that's the only way we can, um, pick out people that's from the soil. On an individual level, we can never compete with these mega corporations and super PACs. The Black grassroots have to mobilize just like they did during George Floyd. I was unable to reach Generation X, which is part of my generation. The best way you can support this platform is by helping me get my revised book on that bestsellers list and donating what you can to our film project. Um, that's not much for what we're been trying to build here. We're opening up the phone lines now. I would drop the link in the chat room for those of you who would like to come on the show and voice your opinion about the topic. And thank you all for your time and listening. Again, for those of you who's not able to participate, what I want to suggest to you is then please watch the replay. Leave a public comment in the comment section, and most of all, put me on blast. Let all of your friends know what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to move from beyond a computer, but I'm using the computer to broadcast, my vision, my plan, future film project, so I can get this thing popping. But again, I'm just one black man with a vision and a plan. It takes a team to make a dream work. This assignment is bigger than myself. That's why I call it a Nehemiah assignment. Um, and again, we're not going to have any con artists up in this business because we want to be in a position where when people come through our doors on our premises, that we're going to have the technology to screen people. I want everybody under my leadership to be able to win and for them to reach their life goals. That's real. And again, I want to come over to the African continent to bring economic tangibles to our members there. Those that's members of GRCAM Africa, my African group. So I'm doing the best that I can on my end over here. So that's how come I try to encourage those of you that's GRCAM members to come on this platform and talk to your I would say your fellow countrymen, countrywomen. Encourage them to work with Emmanuel Barbee. Encourage them to read the book, that's all. Some people say this is a scam. If you feel that way, delete me off your friends list, I come against that naysayers. And I stand against that Willie Lynch mentality head on. We have to break that mess because that's what's holding us back as a group. And again, we want to separate ourselves from con artists and all the negative type of people that makes us look bad. They're melanated, but they still, a lot of them are in the pockets of the white supremacist financial elites, and they don't mind trying to undermine us because they just want crumbs from the white supremacist financial elites. That's all. They don't mind being oppressed or seeing our racial group being oppressed. That's not cool. I come against that mess. Jesus' name. So anyhow, the phone lines are now open. And I will wait around for about 15 minutes. And if I don't hear from anyone, then that's going to conclude our show for today. But I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm going to continue to do this until I'm able to get this film project fully funded and made. Because I don't want anybody to sit up here and say, Emmanuel Barbee, he's not trying to do nothing. This is my job. And again, I just want to make sure that GRCAM Chicago will become the heart of the African American community, started here in the city of Chicago. I'm ready for this. I've been ready 32 years ago. But again, I don't want to be doing this another 32 years. That's how come, I have to do this film project. And again, this is my last attempt to try to do something positive for my racial group here in America. And again, I feel Julius Malema's pain. I wish all of us was on cold, but it is what it is. But with that being said, phone lines are now open.